Good morning, guys, and welcome to the weekly webinar series that we have for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Dennis Henson, and he has been a guest on a previous podcast, and he helps clients anchor the habit of reading daily for the purpose of creating rapid forward motion in life. His previous podcast guest appearance, we talked about the laws of success as per Napoleon Hill. And today he's going to give us a brief 20-minute webinar around the 7 laws of success. And with that, I'm really happy to have him on and to discuss this topic for the audience. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you having me again.
Yeah. And I know we know we're going to talk about the laws of nature for success, and you're going to talk about the discovering the 7 universal laws that shape every successful life. So I'll let you take it away.
Okay, let me start by saying back in 1975, I went into the business world. Before then, I had been a band director. And a large company in Tennessee called and said, "We want to interview you for a job." I wasn't all that interested, but they took me to Tennessee and convinced me to go to work with them. First thing they did was they gave me 3 books. They gave me Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Success, the Glenn Blanton Method, and The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And Chris, after I read those 3 books, I was really excited. I was exhilarated, motivated. It felt so good I had never been introduced to self-help books in the past. And it was just a wonderful experience. So I went to the office one day, and the vice president of the company, Jack McConaughey, sought me out and said, "Dennis, come on into my office. Let's get to know each other." That was interesting because there were hundreds of people there. And why he sought me out, I don't know, because I don't think he did that with everybody. He wouldn't have had the time. So I went into his office and he says, "Tell me about yourself. Where you want to be in 5 years?" And I didn't know. No one had ever asked me anything like that. Then he said, "What about 10 years? What do you want to become? What kind of person do you want to become? What kind of legacy do you want to leave when you're gone?" And I thought, I was just floored. I couldn't answer the questions because I'd never thought of anything like that. Then he started telling me about, there's these certain laws that if you will follow them, you'll be very successful. Things will be easy for you. Money will come to you. The people that you need to become successful will always be there for you. But if you don't follow these laws, then it'll be just the opposite. Things will be bad. You're not going to have an easy time. It's going to be difficult for the rest of your life. I had just read 3 books that he'd given me, and I thought he was talking about another book. So I held my hand up and I said, "Jack, stop." And he said, "Why do you want me to stop?" And I said, "I'm convinced. Where's that book? I want to read the book, The Laws of Nature for Success." And he laughed and he said, as far as he knew, there wasn't a book like that, but it was a life search. It's in lots of books. So when I left the office that day, I was disappointed. I thought, surely there is a book. So I started a search, and I looked and looked. I looked for articles, I looked for books, I looked for anything that said the laws of nature for success. And I was unsuccessful in finding. I thought there certainly must be. So then I started doing a search for just the laws, and I was unable to find those either. So I thought maybe the laws exist just like gravity existed before Newton discovered it. Maybe the laws do exist. Probably they do. They just haven't been uncovered. So I spent about 20 years working to uncover the laws. At the same time, I was working on a book called The 7 Secrets of Success, and I was reading biographies of super successful people. So at some point, I decided if I look at all of these biographies, certainly there is something that will stand out to me that's the same for each one of them. And sure enough, there was. So then I looked up, what do you do? How do you know you have found a law? So I looked up the criteria for the laws of nature, and I found it. And then I started putting this together. So what I've done is I've ended up with 7 laws that successful people seem to follow. The first law is getting your mind, the law of mindset. It says that your mental state dictates the reality of your experience. So if people will have a positive mindset, a positive mental attitude, a definite purpose, something that they really desire, that they really want, and a burning desire, then they'll add the belief that they can accomplish it. That's the law of mindset, and that will increase the speed of them being able to reach success. The second law is seeking wisdom. I call it the law of learning, which is your growth personally and professionally is directly proportional to your continuous intake of knowledge. In other words, you should study every day. Whatever your ultimate goal is that you came up with in the first of the 7 laws, then you read something about that every single day so that you become more knowledgeable about it. Now, that's not limited to just reading. You can listen to YouTube videos, you can watch TV programs, you can go to seminars, you can get a mentor, you can do a number of things to help you. But the key is to consistently seek wisdom. The third law is the law of mastery or develop skills. In every business or sport, there are certain skills that must be mastered. For example, with basketball season is upon us. And if you watch the playoffs, you'll see that the players all can run and dribble and shoot and defense and pass. But if they can't do any of those things, then they're probably not going to get to play. So the law of mastery states achievement is directly related to the mastery of essential skills. Proficiency dramatically increases the likelihood of success. Now, if anybody's watching in and they're thinking, wow, you're saying a lot of things and I can't write that fast, you can go to the website lonfsuccess.com. It's not a sales website, it just has the laws. So again, it's lonfsuccess.com and you can follow along. So let's move on to the law of planning. The law of planning means making detailed plans. No one would dare try to build a large building without having a set of blueprints. Isn't your life or your success more important than a building? So the law of planning stipulates that your outcomes improve with the clarity and precision of your strategy. The more detailed the plan, the more predictable the result. Let's move on to the next law, which is taking massive action or the law of action. The law of action states progress is the result of consistent and vigorous action. The opposite of action is inertia. Procrastination kills momentum. Taking massive action means that you will do more than the average person. I teach real estate investors, and one of the things that I have them do is break everything down into numbers. So I'll say, how many homes are you going to look at this week? And they'll say, I think I'm going to do 20. I'll have to do 20 to reach my goal. And I said, that's fine. So they come back the next week and the sun is shining. They didn't have a cold. They were not sick. They felt great. And they came back and I said, how many homes did you see? And they said, I saw my 20. And I would say, that's not massive action. If your goal was 20 and you felt good and it wasn't snowing, you should go see 40 or 50. But if it's snowing and you have a cold, you're still going to go see your 20. So if you'll do that, if you make yourself better than everyone else, your success will arrive a lot quicker. The next law is forming great alliances, or the law of synergy. The law of synergy states that success multiplies through mutually beneficial relationships. The combined potential of aligned partners always exceeds individual efforts. So, what that means is you want to have people working with you that you can help and they can help you. For example, your employees, the people that work with you, your business partners, your mentor, or just people out in the business world who working together. For example, in real estate investing, you're always going to need a good contractor. So it's good for them because you're giving them business, and it's good for you because they do a good job in completing your projects. Now, these laws are not limited to real estate. That's just an example. And then the final one, the law is be persistent. Be persistent. The name of the law is the law of persistence. And the law of persistence states that long-term success depends on persistent effort in the face of obstacles. Every challenge you overcome sharpens your edge and builds your resilience. So, persistence may be the most important of all the laws of success, because if you quit when you're headed toward your goal, then you'll never reach it. It's over. You're done. But the law of persistence states that regardless of setbacks, you know that setbacks are going to happen. You should take those into account when you're doing the law of planning. And so when the setbacks happen, you get knocked down. You lose everything. You become ill. You have things, people pass away, things happen. They're always going to happen. But the law of persistence says, regardless of those things, you're going to get up, dust your pants off, and start moving forward again. And so those are the laws that I came up with. And I think if anyone will apply them to their lives, they'll find that success will be attained much quicker.
Yeah, really.
Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, really great presentation. And if people, you referenced three books that really helped you. And so for the audience to check those out, if you could, and also how can people connect with you and reach out to you and learn from you?
Okay. The three books are Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Success, The Glenn Bland Method by Glenn Bland, and The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. If people want to find me, they can go to realimpactbook.com, and there's a contact me tab up the top. And if they'd like an ebook of my bestseller, Real Impact Daily Inspiration, they can scroll down to the bottom where it says podcast attendee and receive that for free. Just click on it, put your name and email address, and there's a tab there that says if you want to be notified when I have other books, you just click on that tab. Otherwise, you won't be put on any mailing list. You just get the book. And I hope you'll read the book and think of two or three people that it might be able to inspire. And remember it next time you need to give a nice gift to someone, because these books are inexpensive, but they're very high quality books.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks so much. And for all those, the viewers and the listeners, Dennis's resources, those three books will be in the show notes. And thanks so much for giving a great presentation.
Thank you for having me. I hope everybody learned something and it will affect their lives positively.